Hello everybody, welcome to the vlog. Thank you for joining me. Today is going to be an interesting bike ride. I'm going to attempt to ride around the north side of Lake Apopka. There is a trail that runs basically from the east side to the northwest corner of Lake Apopka, which is west of Orlando. I say attempt because it's a little over 17 miles one way on a gravel road, and I haven't been on the bike lately, so I might be biting off a little more than I can chew, but we'll see. Should be a beautiful bike ride. It's going to be right on the lake, right on the levees, following the lake, sometimes directly on the lake, sometimes inland a little bit. There's a lot of interesting history both to the lake and to the land on the north side of the lake, and some interesting features along the way. I've ridden part of this trail a couple times, so part of it I'll know, part of it I'll be seeing for the first time. And a 34-mile round trip, I might be struggling at the end of it. Anyway, we'll see. Should be a beautiful ride. As you can see, the Lake Apopka behind me. It's a big lake. So anyway, come join me and let's have an outdoor adventure. There are several walkways out of the parking area, which caused me some initial confusion as I took the wrong pathway, but I finally got my bearings and got onto the proper path. The first half mile of the trail is paved as it parallels the roadway, but as you can see here, it turns off and heads toward the lake. And as we get down here, the pavement ends and it becomes crushed coral and limestone for the rest of the way. Up until about the 1940s, Lake Apopka was known throughout the country as one of the premier destinations for catching trophy-sized largemouth bass. Anglers would come from all over the country to hire guides from one of over 20 different fish camps that were located along its shores. Lake Apopka is currently undergoing a long restoration process to clean it up, as it's one of the most polluted lakes, unfortunately, in the country. And if you look closely, you can see there's a long line of floating buoys out there, and they lead all the way out to that dredge way out there. Now, I don't know if the dredge is actually dredging the bottom, pulling up silt, or if it's just pulling in lake water. But whatever it is, it's coming back this way. There was a pump house over there, which leads to this big facility over in the distance. Large storage tanks. I passed a sign which talks about how they're trying to remove nutrients, phosphorus, nitrogen, things of that nature. And so I don't know if they're removing the sediments from the bottom or if they're just cleaning out the lake water. But anyway, I'm sure it's all tied in, it's all related, and I'll be talking more about that later. So what you're looking at is an old pump house that pulls water out of this holding pond here and puts it back into the lake. That's the levee that's holding back the Lake Apopka. Those three long vertical tubes are drive shafts that turn Archimedes water screws, which is basically like a corkscrew inside of a tube, and the water screws lift water up into the pipe, and then which is discharged into the lake. The reason this is here is because on various parts of the lake, lake water is pulled into the land on the north side of the lake, where it is pumped through a variety of large holding ponds, which naturally filter out the sediments, the plants, and everything kind of filter out the water. I'm trying to determine if that's an alligator over there or not. I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, there's lake water gets pulled into the pond, into the land, into holding ponds, retention ponds, where it's allowed to slowly filter through, allowing the plants to pull up nutrients and all the pollutants and let the suspended pollutants drop out. And they go from pond to pond to pond. And in some places, alum is injected into the water, which is what those tanks are right there, aluminum sulfate. What that does is attaches to the phosphates and the nitrogen, and it helps to leach out and drop out the pollutants so that the water ends up clean. So after flowing through pond after pond after pond, the water flows here, pulled up by the pump house and put back into the lake, much cleaner than when it came out. So this will give you a little better idea of the scale of this project. You got the lake over here, and lake water is pulled out on the other side, pumped onto the other side of the of this levee here, which goes all the way around the lake, and it's pumped into these fields. These fields looks like a sea of cattails, and it is, but these fields were drained off back in World War II and used to grow crops for the war effort. And after the war was over, they continued to grow crops on them. Well, unfortunately, with the 5 decades of fertilizers and pesticides to get your maximum yield, yielded an extremely polluted lake. So back in the early 90s, this land was purchased and turned into one big filter. So here's a good view of the lake, map of the lake. I started here, and I've ridden at this point up to here. Now the dredge, I think, is out here, and all those tanks and filtration system was here. My plan is to ride all the way around and come out over to here, and then go back. We'll see how that turns out. This particular stretch of the trail is shared with automobiles that are doing the driving tour. There are 11 different locations on the driving tour that have like a little pullout like you see here on the right. And there's a QR code that you can scan and listen to a short presentation about highlights of the particular area that you might be in. this is one of the very few parts of the trail that has shade trees on it, a fact which was very useful to me on the ride back. So, here we have an example of a pump house in progress. You can hear the motors running, and you can see the water being discharged. And this water flows along this canal and flows out there past those buoys, and that's the Apopka Beauclair Canal. And Lake Apopka is right on the other side of these trees here. So the electric motor up top, under the yellow cover, is turning the water screw, which is lifting the water up this tube and then pushing it and letting gravity flow down, where the water flows through the pipe and then comes out there. Well, it turns out I found a couple big old gators. There's one cruising the canal there. And there's one just taking it easy. So I'm starting to ride into a section of the trail that actually has some trees for coverage to provide shade, which was really nice because the day was starting to get pretty warm. So, yeah, here I am, repairing my tire. And it's at this point that I'm beginning to suspect that the gods are conspiring against me, because Okay, let me update you. I am at Green Mountain Trail, which I am halfway through the ride. It's almost 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And it has been a disaster. About a mile ago, my back tire went flat, of course, and tried to pump it up to get me to here, and it was leaking too fast. So I pulled off the trail, took the tire off, had all the tools and only to discover that I don't have any inner tube patches with me. I have a brand new kit. I bought them not too long ago, a few months ago. I guess they're still in with my road bike, which I'm not on right now. So had to reassemble as best I could, walk the bike up to the parking lot, and was asking people for a ride back all the way across the other side of the lake. By the grace of God, turns out there is a triathlon going on the main road out of this parking lot where I'm at. So I went up there and they called somebody, and as luck would have it, the guy was literally around the corner, and he stopped by the water refreshment stand where I was at, gave me a brand new tube and changed it for me, pumped it up and sent me on my way. So I now get to ride the 17 miles back. My face, you probably can tell I forgot sunscreen. Nice sunny day. I'm still looking at several hours worth of ride. The battery on my phone is almost dead, so this will probably be the last update from the phone. I gotta be honest, the inspiration to do this video is kind of gone out of me, but I don't have much choice at this point. Gotta get back to the car. So, a story I get to tell for the rest of my life. So here I am. I survived. Made it back to the car. Left at 9 in the morning, got back at like 4 in the afternoon. 7 hours of riding, which is far longer than I'm accustomed to riding, but I made it back okay. Wish I'd shot an end video like this one, but I was so tired at that point in time. I just didn't care. I loaded up the car and drove home. It's a beautiful area. North Shore Lake Apopka is beautiful, very unique. As you can see from the video, there's almost no shade, so keep that in mind if you plan on going. But it is beautiful. I do recommend it. Loads of wildlife. Very unique in what they're trying to do out there. And happily, in the past 20 years, I can report that they have made some very, very measurable progress toward cleaning up the lake. Far more of an adventure than I had planned on, but hey, that's what it's all about, getting out there and having fun and seeing what comes your way. Hope to see you on the next adventure out there. Bye.